My name is Chuy Renteria. I describe myself based on the hats that I wear. I am an author, a dancer, teacher, father, but I'm also Mexican American, first generation. I am a community member here in Iowa City with close ties to the town that I grew up in, just 20 miles away, West Liberty, Iowa, and somebody trying to figure out what my relationship is with my community and what my responsibility is to my community. We heard it when we were young is the story of my childhood into early adulthood in West Liberty, Iowa, my hometown. It's the first majority Hispanic town in Iowa. Not only that, there's prominent populations of Southeast Asians. I grew up with Mexican friends, I grew up with Laotian friends, I grew up with white friends, and your neighbor was somebody completely different from you in a lot of ways. There's a lot of good that came with that. There was a lot of, like anything else, it's complicated, right? It's a special place, and with that specialness comes, if you imagine in the 80s, people growing up in such a diverse place when there wasn't a lot of conversations that might be happening now about being empathetic or being like cognizant of those differences. There can be lots of hostilities, or there can be lots of friction, I'll say. It's been really interesting to hear the response from folks of the book, because there's a lot of universality about it, because you could be first generation, any type of identity, and relate to these stories, because that being caught between that space between, like, there was no Mexicans on the radio when we were listening, like when on the local radio stations or like MTV, right? So then that it becomes this weird blurred sense of what is valid, right? Like what can you kind of latch onto that actually other groups or folks or your peers look at as something that's admirable. And we found it through dance, right? Because it was something that we could hold on to, and it was solely our own. And I think because it was removed from any type of like racial or ethnic identity, that's why we could like actually find ourselves in it. B-boys always do like, but here's the break right here. So we'll be like, oh, let's get the B-boys out here. I have a line in the book where I'm not sure if it saved me, like if it like saved my life. I can say that it definitely like changed the course of it. It gave me a sense of purpose, right? It gave me a type of navigation in not only like an artistic exploration, but also just like, I know who I am when I wake up now. I know that I can label myself a dancer, a b-boy, and it was a gift in a lot of ways. The immediacy of dance is something that I always will cherish and hold on to. Like the fact that I can just, I can stand up and do a movement and somebody can watch it and we can connect right then. No, writing the book wasn't my idea, actually. I actually fought writing the book in a lot of ways. So, I mean, and it took me a while to get to that point. And I think what helped me kind of get past the hump, and I remember talking to the editors, was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. And I'm gonna write about my childhood and my kind of journey, but it has to be honest. It has to be real. It was hard. It was very hard to be so honest in it. But I wouldn't feel like I could live with myself if I massaged it in a way that I felt like wasn't honest, right? Wasn't the truth with like a capital T. Yeah, the tricky thing though was being aware that I had a responsibility to my friends or community members in that honesty, right? When it was something like 5, 6, 7, like I'm at a point in my life where a lot of the things that I thought were the things that matter, like becoming the richest, most famous, most well-respected author, the best dancer in the world or something like that, right? And that's not what it is anymore. Because I think we're wired to think that like the immediate wins are what makes you happy. And for me, it's just like, no, it's something where if you can make others, if you can lift up others, if you can open the door and keep it open for others to come in.